Hilton, oh look, it's a sexy selfie of me in the bathroom, kind of a little bit thirst trappy, okay? Why did I put that out there? What's up guys, it's JQ, helping you get better results with high quality, beautiful women that are gonna treat you like a king. And in this video, I'm gonna do something a little bit different. I'm taking a look at a post by a very successful guy, and I'm gonna help illustrate some things that you need to know about female nature, especially if you are very successful. Even if you become very, very successful, this is not gonna solve your issues with women. You still need to understand the psychology of women and develop a skill set with women. Otherwise, you could be at risk of suffering a great financial or emotional loss. And so let's take a look at this post by a guy named Brian Johnson. If you don't know who Brian Johnson is, he wrote a book called Don't Die, and he's considered one of the foremost experts on anti-aging. And before I get into this, I want to say that I have a lot of respect for Brian Johnson's accomplishments. He's clearly a very successful guy. He's clearly a very smart guy. So no disrespect to him, but I just want to call something out that he made this post on X last month announcing that he has a girlfriend. We're going to go through it and I'm going to tell you why there's some red flags, or if I was Brian Johnson's friend, I'd tell him some things that he may want to take a closer look at before moving further. So let's take a look. Guys, I have a girlfriend. Now I know what you're thinking. How is it possible that anyone would want to be with me? I understand where you're coming from. I think the answer is her puzzle piece fits mine. Well, first of all, you don't ever want to be in a mindset like that as a guy, okay? If you're coming to the equation thinking that no one would ever want to be with you, then you're setting yourself up for success, and you're actually going to expect women to treat you poorly. So do not ever adopt that mindset. Let's start there. That's a pretty poor way to start things off. In my early 20s, I read the biography of American founding father John Adams. He and his wife Abigail had one of the great partnerships in American history, intellectually matched, emotionally intertwined, and the co-architects of something bigger than themselves. I wanted what they had, but it wasn't within reach. Years before, I'd married a sort of arranged Mormon marriage. Unsure how else to explain it. We were functional, but we weren't John and Abigail. We split after 13 years. At the age of 34, after selling Braintree, Venmo, and emerging from a mismatched marriage and the repression of Mormonism, I set out to rebuild myself and find partnership. Met a woman in LA who became my first ever girlfriend. Coming from a sheltered background, I was blind to the obvious warnings. I was dangerously naive. That relationship unraveled and was followed by litigation. The experience was unnerving and left me wondering if I could ever trust again. Okay, so he's already had experience with women taking advantage of him, and this is fairly common amongst guys who have a lot of money and a lot of success. They do need to be very careful. And, so he already kind of knows that that's possible. By the time I was 44, I started reconciling with the possibility of life without partnership. Okay. Kate Tolo and I met at brain interface company Kernel. She discovered my work using neurotechnology to improve human well-being and merge human and AI. Even though she'd been dreaming of a career in fashion, she was drawn to what she foresaw as the defining question of our time. How will humans successfully co-evolve with AI? We shared the same obsession. That's an interesting statement that he made there, right? Even though she had been dreaming of a career in fashion, she decided to pursue a career in AI. Those are two very, very different things, and I'm surprised to learn that she had an interest in both. It sounds more like she had maybe an interest in him personally, and then she decided to become interested in AI. The puzzle piece fit was immediate as either of us had ever experienced. I'm sorry to tell you, Brian, that's definitely not the case for her. Might be the case for you, but I'm sure she has had chemistry with men before, probably more chemistry. Yet we maintained our professional boundaries. When we worked our project together, the back and forth was effortless. She could conceptualize and feel what I couldn't, and vice versa. It helped that both Kate and I had a natural disposition towards hard work. Our joy came from creation. Kate was luminescence. When I saw her in the office, butterflies fluttered in my stomach. Each day she'd show up wearing some unexpected combination of colors, textures, styles, and accessories, always tasteful, playful, and interesting. She didn't chase fancy brands. Most of her clothing was worn from the thrift store. This guy was becoming obsessed with her. He is noticing the brands of the clothing that she's wearing. He's remembering the different outfits that she wore. It sounds like he was really fantasizing about her a lot. So despite his claim before that professional boundaries weren't maintained, and yes, what he means is we didn't become intimate in that time, but you can tell that he was starting to develop an obsession with her. He was starting to really place her up on this pedestal. Meanwhile, I want to say this girl was about 27 years old at the time, so quite young. We both worked very hard and valued every second of the day. One evening around 6:30 p.m., she dropped by my office and we talked for hours. It had been all business before. This was the first time we stepped into each other's personal lives. My heartstrings pulled, but my brain pushed back. We know we can't trust again, my mind firmly stated. Our after-hours meetups in my office became a daily ritual, the favorite part of my day. We'd reminisce about work and tiptoe a bit deeper each time into our personal lives. Buddy, this is what women do who want to get close to a man, okay? They start hanging out around you. They'll find reasons to come and talk to you. This sounds very planned on her part, and that's not necessarily wrong, but I'm just pointing that out to you. He'd like to think that this was this very organic thing, that they are just kind of like drawn to each other. I think that she planned this based on the way that he's describing it. More on that in a second. We were oddly from different worlds entirely, but somehow the same person. Yet neither of us dared to take the next step. It's the man's job to take the next step. We didn't want to imperil our work relationship, and we remained deeply skeptical of each other. The combination of Kate being raised to distrust all things and me still feeling the sting of a previous relationship left us stirring in a pot of anticipatory disaster. Before long, whether we liked it or not, we become each other's favorite person. We spend every moment we could together. Social events and the weekends were off limits as our relationship was professional. We were both secretly wondering, does the other person feel what I'm feeling? Unable to withstand it any longer, after a year and a half of unspoken action, one night I softly floated the balloon of inquiry. She confirmed it was reciprocal. Okay, so I want to pause there for a second. For those of you that are not multi-millionaire or 100 millionaires or whatever this guy is, this strategy would certainly almost never work on a woman. This would be considered very weak and kind of not aggressive enough, not alpha enough. For most women are not going to be receptive to you saying after a year and a half, I've got feelings for you, how do you feel? Almost never happens. So the reason I bring this up is because it seems pretty clear that there are other factors involved, namely the fact that this guy is wealthy and influential and could significantly advance this girl's life and career is probably the prevailing reason why she was interested in him. Now, it's not invalid for a girl to be interested in the guy for those reasons, but what I want to find out through this inquiry is whether her interest in him is truly genuine or whether she is really in it for the other things that he can do for her. Let's dive a little deeper and see what we can find out. Still, with things being so new, neither of us wanted to make our relationship public. We needed time to stabilize, mature, and assess whether this was short or long term. I'm sure it was mostly her that didn't want to make it public. I'm a 48-year-old American, raised Mormon with 3 children. She's a 30-year-old Bosnian Australian American. It took time to bridge our worlds. Okay, people from Bosnia has had a very, very difficult history. And so women who are from that part of the world are very typically intelligent, but also survivors. I think this girl is very smart, but she could also be very calculated as well. It took time to bridge our worlds. In our years of knowing each other, 3 of them have been navigating a relationship, all while building a business and a movement. There have been many times where we didn't know if we'd make it. Well, that's a really odd statement, considering he said in the previous paragraph that for a year and a half, they weren't even dating at all. And then they started dating. I mean, usually in the early parts of a relationship, things are, easy and fun. And so I find it a little strange that he said there have been many times where we didn't know if we'd make it. But anyway, in the last year, we found our flow. So, so the times that they didn't know they would make it were the 6 months in between when they started dating and when they found their flow. Just that timeline seems strange. I trust Kate as much as my mother. She knows how to scaffold trust. She anticipates your anticipation and knows your reaction before you react. She's meticulous in the integrity of our relationship. She's even been pivotal in helping my father and me reconcile and navigate the contours of our relationship. That's great if she's done that. I do appreciate her and think that's valuable. In the past few years, Blueprint and Don't Die have become global phenomena. Kate is the unsung hero. She and I have been stride on stride since inception. She's proven an exceptional executor, and despite her unconventional background, intuitively knows things. Her story warrants being told, as others will be better off emulating her practices and her abilities. What I find most impressive about Kate is her presence and her thoughtfulness. She sees forwards, backwards, side to side. This just goes on and on and on, kind of this very long ode to her and how wonderful she is, how great she is. It is a very, touching tribute. But And then here we've got the photo collage of all the things that they've done together. Okay, now the reason I'm calling this out is because he has gone and made an extremely public display of his love and affection for her. Why? Why did he need to do that? He's already with her, right? He can tell her privately how he feels. That's going to be the most meaningful. Why does he feel the need that he needs to prove this to the world, how much he loves her and how great she is? Is it because he's worried that the public would perceive her to be, could it be that he's a little bit worried that otherwise the public may wonder and kind of say, why is she the co-founder of this business? And so he feels the need to justify why she's so valuable. I don't know, but I just think it's interesting. Typically, as a man, you want to, of course, let your girl know how much you love and care about her, but making a giant, big public display of your affection online like this is often a sign of a bit of insecurity. And so that's just something I noticed. The other thing that I want to call out is if I contrast this with her social media, we're going to look at some important differences. And typically, it's going to be the woman who's going to be posting more on social media about her relationship. But if we take a look at Kate's social media, okay, this is just to point out, he's got the same thing on Instagram, that whole post, all the photos, etc. Here we've got Kate's Instagram. Well, notice that for years here, there's nothing about him at all. And yes, that was because they weren't public about their relationship. Now this is actually from less than 1 year ago. So the relationship was still not public. So look, now she's dressed, pretty sexy. This looks like a designer outfit. She's at an event. No mention of him, okay? He's in some videos, but they're not together. Paris Hilton. Oh, look, it's a sexy selfie of me in the bathroom, kind of a little bit thirst trappy, okay? Why did I put that out there? Notice that her social media following has grown significantly since this was announced. Finally, what I want you to consider here is this post, how I became Brian Johnson's co-founder.
Here's how I became Brian Johnson's co-founder.
About a year ago.
It started with an email. When I was 21, I came across a quote from Brian that aligned with how I saw the future. I found someone who had the same ambitions. So I messaged him every year for years. LinkedIn, email, wherever I could, reaching out, applying, pitching myself, and I heard nothing back. Then, years later, I finally got an interview. It was for an assistant role. At the time, I was managing $1 million budgets at the North Face, but I knew this wasn't about a title, it was about a mission. So I took a pay cut, moved across the country, and got to work. Brian was already deeply focused on his health when I pitched him the idea of making his journey a public science experiment, sharing every detail with the world. And that's when Blueprint was born. For the first year and a half, no one noticed. Then, one day, the internet caught on and everything changed. Now, Netflix is dropping a documentary January 1st. Follow the behind the scenes as we build this movement. Here's how...
Okay. So what I want you to notice about this is that at no point does she ever say, and I'm dating him. She would like you to... Now, I'm not taking away from the effort that she put in to acquire a position at the company and to work her way into his life. Certainly that's its own skill and there was a lot of effort involved. But I think the reality is that she would not be co-founder of this company if she wasn't his girlfriend. And so what kind of strikes me about this particular video is she doesn't mention that. And she might say, oh, that's because it wasn't public knowledge at the time. But it's relevant. If you're going to claim this video would like you to believe that she earned being a co-founder simply based on her own based on her qualifications only, and it had nothing to do with the fact that she had a personal relationship with him. Let's also just notice that there's no post about him saying, wow, I love this man so much. He's an incredible man. I can't believe I'm in a relationship. Nothing anywhere close to what he had to say about her. Even her own reply on his post says, I love you so much, so glad you didn't give up. So extremely basic reply, no heartfelt, really moving, touching response to this long 10, 15 paragraph ode and dedication that he made to her. Let's check out one more post from her or interview with her.
Are you in a relationship or not?
Yeah, I am.
Do you sleep separately? Do you sleep in the same bed?
Separately.
Yeah, I was wondering.
I am a huge advocate of it.
Are
Huge.
you?
Look how quickly she said that and said that she's a huge advocate of it. Just the conviction in her statement is noticeable.
Huge,
Okay,
huge,
tell
huge,
me.
huge, huge. I just think that it's a societal thing that we share the same bed. I think if we can, we actually sleep in the same room, but just two separate mattresses. So even people who are constrained sometimes like space, like you can't still make it work. And I just think there's a big stigma around it. I remember growing up and thinking if your parents don't sleep in the same bed, something's wrong, you know?
I think oftentimes there is something wrong if your parents aren't sleeping in the same bed, but go on.
And so I just think it's a huge stigma. I think it's incredible to sleep separately, like so much better.
It's so incredible because I don't have to worry about him touching me. I don't have to worry about having sex with him, and I can just say it's for our health. It's for our longevity. So she doesn't sleep in the same bed as him. She doesn't. That is weird. That is strange. Why would that be? Why would that be?
This is gonna sound so dramatic. I literally don't care what the internet has to say about it. But when a guy likes you too much and he's obsessed with you, it's not flattering. It's actually the worst fucking feeling ever. Like, it's like being out at a bar and a guy comes up to you and he's like, you're so beautiful, you're so sexy, and you know that he just wants one thing from you.
So what this girl says is actually accurate. Most women feel this way when a man, because like I spoke about in my last video, there's the hero and the hero worshiper, and women want to look up to the man that they are with. Now, Brian Johnson is worthy of admiration because of all of his success with his company, and he's an intelligent guy, and so I'm sure that she does look up to him in that way. I'm not debating that. What I'm saying is that when he does something like this, and he's instead putting her up here, he's actually at risk of lowering her attraction towards him. She also says that they don't sleep in the same bed together. It doesn't sound like there's a lot of polarity and sexual energy in their relationship. And that's kind of evidenced by, if you just kind of look at the body language, right? Again, looking at her Instagram, here was her photos here when she was still single or it wasn't known that she was in a relationship, were a lot more sexy. Now that it's been announced that they are in a relationship together, she's been dressing down. They just look like work colleagues. And so in my experience, that is not how a woman's body language is who is deeply connected and in love with her man. And I'm going to share this final clip. I think this is from a movie or TV show, but it still portrays things accurately. This is how girls look at you when they are really, really into you. See that look? Okay, you get the idea. All right, here. This is how a girl looks at you when she's deeply in love, when she's feeling connected. She looks very deeply into your soul, into your eyes. She wants to be touching you. She wants to be on you. She definitely wouldn't want to be in a separate bed. Women who love you and are connected to you want to feel your presence physically all the time. So, all right, so why did I make this whole video? I know this might be a little controversial for some of you, including some of the women here in the group. My own girl was upset that I was making a video on this topic because she felt like I was minimizing the value that women bring to the equation. And I'm not. I'm not minimizing the value that this girl brings to Brian Johnson's life. Her femininity, her radiance are valuable things that he is certainly getting a lot of benefit from. The reason I'm pointing these things out is that if I were Brian Johnson's personal friend, I would just want him to notice some of the things that I'm noticing as a person who has observed and studied female behavior for a long time. It's a little bit concerning that she isn't really making any posts, for example, about their relationship, right? That he's the one doing that. And I'm not saying I don't really believe that people need to do this in the first place, but if we were to compare, he's the one making all the public display of affection and she's not. She was kind of portraying herself as more like sexy and available. Even 2 years into their relationship, even if that wasn't really the case, that was kind of how she was displaying it online. Now that it's known that she's in a relationship, she doesn't really seem to do that with him. She dresses more in sweats and kind of much more casually around him. And she doesn't sleep in the same bed as him. And that is weird. So the reason I bring this all up is that some of these behaviors that he's exhibiting, the excessive posting, the putting her up on a pedestal, the kind of inflation and trying to prove how valuable she is, those are typically a turnoff for women. So if this relationship succeeds, and I hope it does, okay? I'm not here to talk shit about their relationship. It will be only because of the fact that he is successful and wealthy and is advancing her in that regard. And that's where he's at risk, because if that ever goes away, something happens with his businesses, he loses his fortune, I think she'd be gone too, because she doesn't seem to look at him or treat him like a king outside of this context with his work. And she even kind of made this post to make it sound like she had, become the co-founder solely based on her work effort. And I'm not saying she didn't work hard, but it certainly had a lot to do with the fact that she's his girlfriend. So it's important for all men, regardless of how successful you are, and especially if you're very successful, to learn the psychology of women, to learn about female relationships, and so that you can pick the right one. And she might be the right one for him. I certainly hope that's the case, but there are a few red flags. Wouldn't be totally surprised if they get married and have a baby, but if they also get divorced at some point in the future. All right, there's one more thing I want to say about this guy before I sign off, which is that Brian Johnson is considered to be one of the world's foremost experts on longevity and anti-aging, and that's what this whole thing is about. Blueprint is a company that he has founded that is designed to help people live as long as possible, and it says in this article that he is spending $2 million on his personal anti-aging routine. So it got me curious because I didn't really know what he looked like. And I thought to myself, what does Brian Johnson look like as a person spending $2 million on his longevity? And I pulled up a picture and then I pulled up a picture of myself. Brian Johnson and I are actually the same age. We were born within 1 year of one another. And I don't know if, this is I don't know if this is a candid photo of him, but it is a candid photo of me with no filters or editing whatsoever. And, we either look similar or, in my opinion, I think I might look a bit younger than him. And I'm certainly not spending $2 million on my longevity. Now, I'm not dissing health and wellness practices. I am a big fan of taking care of yourself. I take care of myself, but health, fitness, and longevity, they don't need to be complicated. You need to work out. You need to eat a diet consisting of meat and vegetables and other healthy foods. You need to get adequate sun exposure. It looks here like Brian does not get a lot of sun exposure, so he either lives in a cold climate or perhaps he's one of those people who's scared of sun exposure. If that's the case, then he's misinformed about his longevity protocol. And then just most importantly, the real purpose of longevity and taking care of yourself is to live and to have, it's not about living as long as possible, but it's about having the best quality of life. Okay, I guarantee when Brian Johnson is 100 years old, his body is going to be breaking down just like the rest of ours. He might still be alive. He might be doing better. I believe in all of that. That's why I work out and take care of myself. But if your longevity protocol means that you don't sleep in the same bed as your girlfriend, then you're taking this far too seriously. and because what would be the point of living that long if you're not going to experience some of the great things in life? And that include having a woman who loves you sleep next to you and sleep with you. So I suspect there could be another reason, but yeah, longevity protocol. That's what I got for you.